Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to our institution of Global Professional Free Webinar. Thank you all for joining and stay with us till the end. My lovely audience, today I am your host for the afternoon. My name is Yarni Sakhtar and I am from Bangladesh. Dear audience, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our institution of Global Professional Free Webinars. Thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous afternoon. And it's my humble request and pleasure to all of you stay with us till the end. Institution of Global Professionals serves student and community resource, providing holistic social work and education for create a competent generation. IGP is a leading and online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. Institution of Global Professional is an educational institution provides social work with globally recognized. We organized our webinar training offline online courses each web based and train speaker coaches from all the world. Our mission is empower people. We have already completed 133 webinars successfully. Let me remind you, don't forget to share, tag and mention your friends. Let's start our program. Today, our webinar topic is discourse analysis in language studies. And today we have our speaker, and our speaker name is Kevin Jack Mordas. He is from Philippines. He is an international speaker and moderator, reception of international gold medals in research and education, English teacher, English club advisor, coach, English radio and television broadcasting, research advisor, pianist, research grammar editor, chairperson, literary music festival. Let's welcome our speaker. Hello, sir.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. May I please open my camera up? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you have to give some description about yourself, then you can start your presentation.
Thank you. May I start now?
Yes, you can, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everybody. Good morning to the different countries who are with us this afternoon. Right now in the Philippines, it's actually timed as 4:10 in the afternoon, but I believe that we're working in different timelines because we are also having international audiences. So let me greet you either good afternoon or good morning wherever you are around the world. Okay. Thank you very much for this invitation to the Institute of Global Professionals. This is actually my third time to speak, and I'll be speaking this afternoon about the basics of discourse analysis. Okay. Before we start, may I please hear any greetings from all of our participants from the different parts of the globe, or are our participants who are representing the different countries of the globe. So in our language, that's in Filipino, we call it, we greet you magandang hapon or magandang umaga. Ayan, mula sa Pilipinas. And of course, in English, we greet each other good morning and good afternoon. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying a while back, my topic will dwell on the basics of discourse analysis. Please allow me now to share to you my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you very much. May I please verify, madam, to our moderator if my screen is already on its full screen mode?
Yes, sir, it's a full screen. You can
Thank you
start.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my presentation is titled as Basics of Discourse Analysis. Yours truly is Mr. Kevin Jake Anyab. I work, I currently serve as an English educator at the University of Baguio, that's on the northern part of the Philippines, specifically in Baguio City, known also as the summer capital of our country. So let's start with this salient question. What is a discourse? Okay, now I know that prior to attending this particular webinar, perhaps our participants were able to come across webinars also, trainings and seminars, or even read manuals, books, or even online materials regarding discourse and discourse analysis. Or maybe some of our participants are actually specializing in languages and literature, okay? Because discourse analysis is a very repetitive term, okay, to all of us who are specializing in the discipline. And at the same time, it also is becoming interdisciplinary already. And I'll talk more about that later on, okay? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I have to disclaim that I'm an enthusiast of discourse analysis. I don't claim myself to be an expert about it. So the basic details is only what I can serve you this afternoon. But as we progress on our discussion, we hope that we also grow and learn more about how we conduct discourse analysis, how we perceive discourse analysis, and its essence to the scholarly body of knowledge. So I will just be speaking for 40 minutes because this will be basic concepts of discourse analysis. I also did provide already quiz questions for you later on, which I submitted to our staffs or organizers for this webinar. Okay, so let's start with our objectives. Okay, our objective right this point in time is to describe discourse and discourse analysis. It's to give some definitions about it so we can further understand their concepts. And second target that we have from these for these webinar is to identify the basic approaches and ways and means in doing or conducting discourse analysis. Okay, and the third target would be I will be giving you concepts about G's six areas of reality and Heim's speaking model, and we will try to correlate these concepts of these two experts to the concept of discourse analysis. Okay, we now start with my first question. So my first question is, what is discourse? Okay, it's very important that as language professionals or as educators as a whole or as researchers, if we want to embark on doing discourse analysis later on in our respective disciplines, we that's a good point, of course, but it has to be starting from a concrete understanding of what exactly is a discourse. So let me borrow the definition provided by Potter and Wetherill back in 1987 to define what discourse is. They said that discourse can mean all forms of spoken interaction, formal and informal interactions, and written text of all kinds. Okay, so this already opens a great discussion that when you say it's a discourse, it's not just limited to an oral nature. Okay, when we mean discourse, we also dwell with the written forms. Okay, so later on, we will notice that some of the researchers or educators who are embarking to discourse analysis can either focus on the oral nature or oral form of interaction, and others can also focus on the written form of interaction. But because of the evolution of times already and we expand our concepts to discourse analysis, there are also groups or bodies of researchers who also pay attention to both oral and written form simultaneously in a certain study. Okay, and that is possible. So another definition that I want to borrow is from Sheffrin and company back in 2003. So they claim that this course is actually an investigation, not only by sentences, but should be beyond sentences. So when we speak of sentences, it's syntactically there are like words that form a certain sentence, correct? And there are like certain arrangement and grammatical rules that we follow when we construct our English sentences. But when we deal with discourses, it has to go beyond the sentence. It has to approach the meaning of a certain sentence. It has to talk about the contextual considerations, why the sentence was written this way, to whom is the sentence for. Okay, so that is going beyond the sentential level. And we also understand in discourse analysis or in a discourse, what language are we using? Are we using it for whom or our target audiences? And we also investigate how language is actually used in actual settings, okay, considering the context, okay, or contextual factors. We also understand discourse as a social practice. Well, this is a very bulky or a large perspective about discourse, but this comes from the same author. Which includes not only the words that we say, if that's in an oral interaction, it doesn't just include the words that are written on a printed text. If it's a textual discourse or a written discourse, but more importantly, if you talk about social practice, we also include in our study the non-linguistic and the non-specific instances of language. Okay, we can also focus on, apart from the sentences that we see or apart from the words that we hear in oral interactions or in written forms, we can also consider our paralinguistics codes. For example, we can also have intonations to be part of our target for analysis. We can also understand the variants of words that they're using, especially in the language, that we have American variants of words, and we also have the British variants, and we also have, in our country, we also have the Philippine English. So we also make use of this things in our analysis. Now, let me just give you four different instances how a certain person or a linguist, for that matter, because the discourse analysis is known to be an interpretive design in research. It is more of qualitative studies, and most of the people or professionals who really work on discourse analysis are the people who used to be who are linguists or applied linguists. But conventionally, the discourse analysis, for us to understand, discourse analysis conventionally started with amongst the language and the linguists individuals. Okay, but over time it actually expanded, and so it tapped different professionals, not necessarily people who are working on languages and literature, but it also tapped other professions and specializations. That's why we already understand discourse analysis to cut across different disciplines. Okay, so we can invite anthropologists later on, we can also work with sociologists or social scientists, we can also work with political politically affiliated individuals or lawyers or political scientists, and a lot more of professions. So we understand discourse analysis as not only being contained in language among language professionals, but this can actually be interdisciplinary already. So we make discourse analysis interdisciplinary. We can tap on different specializations to also bank on to discourse analysis, because regardless of our professions or regardless of our disciplines, we always make use of language, whether that be in the oral or in the written forms of it. And so we also see variations or some problems that we can actually investigate on regarding the use of the language in both oral and written forms. So I want to present to you four practical examples from one of my analysis for these presentation. First thing, if you look at this quotation, the speaker A said, "You threw it so you get it." Okay. The second speaker would say, "Moira, I'll call my mom." Okay. Now, the words that were caps lock are the ones that are emphasized. So this is an oral interaction. Again, this is an oral interaction. So maybe two friends, friend A and friend B, are talking, and then suddenly friend A would say, "You threw it so you get it." And then Moira, the friend B, would say, I mean, the friend B would say Moira, I'll call my mom. Okay, so if I will conduct a discourse analysis, say I wanted to analyze how these two friends make use of the language in interaction. So this is an oral interaction. I look at it, maybe I would have like another perspective. Maybe apart from making it in the, maybe apart from an oral interaction, what if I come across a textual material where these dialogues of two friends, say for example, a story was printed on a text, okay? So I saw this over a certain written story. Now, if the nature of the interaction is textual, like it's printed on the text or lifted from a story, as a linguist, I would look at it as a text, okay? So if I try to do a discourse analysis on it, I will analyze it within the boundaries of the text. I would analyze how the words were spelled, what were the words that were used among these two friends in that two-line interaction. I will also try to analyze if they actually have pauses in between. I also will analyze anything that is linguistic in an aspect because I look at this interaction as something textual. Okay. So my investigation would just be confined within the parameters of the text. Okay. I will check on spelling, I will check on grammatical composition, I will check on the choices of the words or the lexicons that were used. That will be the first scenario. But what if I provide you another scenario? Because some of the discourse analysts will not always dwell on textual materials, okay, to study language and to study how communication works using the language, because other analysts will also have another perspective, which is the second example. What if I come across an oral interaction and I heard a friend, this is a story, and then a sunny Sunday afternoon, Edinburgh Botanic Garden, two girls both aged 7 and 8 on a path. One of them has kicked the ball they are playing into the bushes. Okay, so this is a story. Now, the first speaker just analyzed the interaction. Sorry, the first speaker analyzed the interaction based on linguistic features, okay, because he looks at the interaction as a text, okay. But the next speaker doesn't look at this story as a text, it goes beyond the text, which means to say he looks at this story as an event, okay. It's a happening, it's a situation. So if I will try to investigate on this matter and I want to see how language works in this communication, okay, or in this information or in this story, I would want to also consider finding out who the participants are, what were the names of the two girls, what are their cultural backgrounds, are they familiar to each other or are they not, what are the relationships, are they siblings or are they cousins or are they friends or are they schoolmates, and I have to look at the setting, okay, where did the story take place, okay, and because the setting would actually tell me the cultural and other contextual factors that I have to consider how the story that influence how the story was created. And I will also look at linguistic choices in the narration of the story, and I have to find out more what is going on, okay. So that's the second linguist's perspective. I'd like from the first perspective. And another perspective is, what if another linguist would look at this story, the same story, okay, in another way? What if this linguist will not look at it as a text already, or he will not look at it as an event? Rather, I will look at it as a drama. So what will happen? My investigation would consider peculiar factors like what happened first, what happened before this main event happened, who is responsible when the ball was kicked and it was pushed to the bushes, who is responsible, okay. So I have to deal with the story deeper, and then how would the girls evaluate these facts, okay, how would they respond to that problem in the story, what is each we try to achieve on the story, and what strategies for attempting to achieve these objectives. So I look at it more than an event, I look at it as a drama. Therefore, if I do a discourse analysis, I will try to analyze this story, look at the language, and how it was used in the communication inside the story, then that's going to be another perspective. And then a fourth linguist will have to look at it in another perspective even more. Like if we deal with the same story, the linguist will also look at it not already as an event or a drama, but he looks at this story as a manifestation of knowledge and power. Okay, so what does that mean? What if these friends who are playing in Edinburgh Botanic Garden are actually friends, but the way that they use the language, there is hidden agendum of power and ideology. What if one acts to be more superior than the other? What if because of the language that they use, that already projects inferiority and superiority in the relationship as friends? So I'm going to have like a detour in my interpretation. I will look at how they use the language in the story to instill knowledge and power. Okay, later on you will find out that there will be like an approach in discourse analysis, which we call as critical discourse analysis, which will dwell on this matter. So how the two children will enact and interpret their drama in the way that they do. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is with the four events that I've given you, there is just one similar event, but there are four different perspectives already. So in discourse analysis, we are not just bound on text, okay, nor on oral interaction only. We're not just after the language, okay, but we also consider other factors that may influence our communication, like for example the culture of people, like for example the social context where the communication event transpired, and all of these considerations. So therefore, if discourse analysis, it's very expansive, it's a wide area of study. It's going to be an interpretive, qualitative investigation in matters. Okay, so, look at these definitions of a discourse. For linguist one who looked at the story as a text only, where he wanted to just analyze on grammatical compositions and lexicon or lexical matters in the story. Maybe he defined discourse as the product of such an event, especially in the form of a visible text, okay, whether originally spoken or subsequently transcribed or originally written. So that is the perspective and definition of linguist number one in the event that I've given, and that is valid. Okay, that is correct. Okay, you see there are different perspectives, but all of them are correct, just dependent on what lens you want to look at it. Okay, or what will be your focus later on when you conduct a discourse analysis. Okay, because for linguist two also, he looks at it differently. He finds like the story as a discourse because it is a particular event in which such processes are instantiated. But for linguistry, he looks at discourse differently also, and he defines discourse in that story as the linguistic and cognitive and social processes whereby meanings are expressed and intentions interpreted in human interaction. Therefore, linguist number three focuses on investigating how the language is being used in human interaction. How are the speakers interacting with each other using the language? Okay, and the number four would consider already historical and cultural contexts embedded in the set of conventions which constitute and regulate such processes. So, again, all these things, all these perspectives, no matter if they're different from each other or not, is already valid and is a correct perspective of these courses. Again, in conducting discourse analysis, we have like different focus or different foci, okay, or different purposes why we conduct such. Okay, if one would want to dwell on an oral interaction, that still is discourse. If one would want to investigate on texts and do a textual analysis, that still is discourse analysis. Okay, so we look at discourse as in that matter. Now, if we look at this inverted pyramid, the discourse is on top, and discourse from Stubbs back in 1983 is defined as language about above the sentence level. But for Fairlow, back in 1992, he also defined discourse as more than just the language use, okay? But it is also seen as a type of a social practice. We're using a language and it was impacted or it was influenced or it is being influenced by the cultural backgrounds that we have as interlocutors or as speakers or listeners or conversants, okay? And all the more. Now, with that knowledge that we have about this course, it also is a good thing to know that discourse analysis will involve concepts of language in use. How is language actually being used in human interaction or into communication or interaction? Or we also want to focus on how, knowing how the language is interpreted above and beyond the sentence. We look at the meaning that is being formed in the use of the language in interactions. Or we might probably have to consider, we have to consider the situational and cultural context that surrounds a certain communication. Okay, so that is discourse analysis. Now, from the definition of Denzin and Lincoln back in 2000, they defined discourse analysis or DA as to make sense or interpret phenomena. When you say it's a phenomena, it would mean the interaction, if it would mean the communication, okay, in terms of the meanings that people bring to them. Okay, so generally the discourse analysis can either focus on a text only, so that was the story that I've given for linguist one a while back. The story is a text, okay, and if you find out a certain printed story, and of course technically that's a text, uh, a discourse analyst would just focus on how this the story was structured and how was it written. Okay, so it's just within the parameters of the story. I would want to check how this story was organized, okay, through the language. So I will investigate on its cohesion, its organization. I will investigate on the coherence, and I will investigate on speech events that unfolded within the story. But if I would want to focus on oral interaction, like how the language is being used for conversation and interaction, then that already leads me to conversational analysis, which is actually a layer of not a layer, a method or an approach of discourse analysis. So if I want to investigate on how people would interact using the language, that is conversational analysis. And my focus later on will be on the strategies or communication strategies that they use, the turn taking strategies that they use when they interact to each other. I will also look at a cooperative principle. When you say it's a cooperative principle, it's actually the underlying assumption that both the speaker and the listener in a certain oral communication can contribute to the meaning of communication. Okay, it's the assumption that both the speaker and the listener contribute to the meaning of the interaction or communication. Hedges, I will also would, if that's conversational analysis, like investigating how the language is being used in oral interactions, hedges would actually mean what are these statements being uttered in oral communication that shows uncertainty. So hedges would mean uncertainties, okay, statements that cue or signal for uncertainties or not being sure. Okay, implicature would also be tapped by conversational analysis. Again, this transpires in oral interactions, because when you say implicature, it's the hidden speaker's intention, or it's our inference as to what the speaker is saying. Like for example, I'm going to Maria's birthday. That's the speaker A. I'm going to Maria's birthday. But the friend would say, "Are you going?" Speaker A would say, "I'm going to Maria's birthday. Are you going?" And then here comes the speaker B saying, "I have assignments to do." Well, if you notice, he did not directly respond to the question of speaker A, right? But if I will be speaker A and I heard speaker B saying I have a time assignments to do, I create the inference that okay, my friend will not be coming with me to attend Maria's birthday. Even if he did not say no, I have an instinct that he would not be coming based on what on his reply. Okay, so I did an implicature on that. So if you want to do a discourse analysis and try to investigate on this, um, implicatures could actually be one of the pointers of study, okay, that you can focus on. We also have a background knowledge. For the background knowledge, what are the background knowledge that these interlocutors have when they're interacting with each other? Is this speaker knowledgeable of the topic of of the conversation? Is he not knowledgeable about it? Because that also is a focus of conversational analysis. We also look at the individuality of interlocutors, the people who participate in the communication, like the speaker and the listener. Okay. And we also look at other contexts that may affect the communication, such as each other's culture, the cultural factors, the time in the setting where the communication happened, and of course, the topic that they're actually conversing about. So, um, this one is actually from the research of Hodges back in 2008. There are different orientation to discourse analysis. Okay, we have this what we call now as the formal linguistic discourse analysis. So look at the table. If you are into formal linguistic discourse analysis, you need this source data. Okay, you need samples of written and oral language and texts. Okay, so your analysis, if you are under formal linguistic discourse analysis, would be to micro analyze the linguistic, grammatical, and semantic uses and meanings of text. So you're just bound within the text. Okay, this is the story, this is the article. I have to analyze within the parameters of this article. So I will check on the words that were used to write the article. That's the linguistic aspect. I will check on the structure of sentences. That is also part of grammar or grammatical concern. And the meaning of the text itself is already the semantics. But there are also discourse analysts who focus on empirical discourse analysis. This is where the conversation analysis that I was talking about will come in, because not only do you need samples of written and oral language and text, but you also need to document the actual use of language in actual communication or in actual oral interaction. So I want to analyze on the ways when which the language or the text constructs social practices. Okay, and you can only analyze that when you try to investigate on actual oral human interactions. Okay, and we also have another approach to discourse analysis, which we call as critical discourse analysis. Well, one of the most common, most famous or popular name in critical discourse analysis is actually Michel Foucault. And the Michel Foucault is actually a French philosopher and a French sociologist. Okay, so in critical discourse analysis, we go beyond the language. When I say we go beyond the language, we also consider how the language is being used and how does it contain hidden power and relations or hidden ideologies. Okay, so we need, if we go this way and do a critical discourse analysis, we will be needing data such as samples of written and oral language or texts. We will also need data on the uses of the text in social settings, and data on the institutions and individuals who produce and are produced by language texts. Okay, and one more important variable when we do a critical discourse analysis is to consider the time and the setting, and then yeah, the time and the context. Okay, where this analysis the time and the setting in these analysis. So in our analysis, for critical discourse analysis, because we're talking about language and its association to power and relations, we want to do a macro analysis of how discourses construct what is possible for individuals and what institutions to think and to say. So actually in discourse, in critical discourse analysis, we also will tap on political aspects, okay? Especially so if this is the language that you have to speak in the community, we can study that under critical discourse analysis. How is the language being used to actually impose rules and regulations for people? How is it politically becoming a political tool? How is it being used in a social in the social context? Okay, so all these things will be concerns of critical discourse analysis. Now, just to chunk that out, for formal linguist discourse analysis, we are on the structure of the text. Okay, we just analyze the structure of the text. So we tap on grammar, we tap on lexicon, we tap on cohesion and coherence of the written text. Okay, that's where we will find meanings from. Okay, but for empirical discourse analysis, let me just emphasize that this is more on conversations, this is more on oral interactions or oral communications, because we look at how language is being used in communication and how does it become a weapon to create or construct a meaning and to prompt actions from both of speakers and listeners. So we can include the conversation analysis and genre analysis. But the CDA, or the critical discourse analysis, would be dwelling on the specific institutions and the roles of individuals to play, okay, in in the interaction. So we look at language being used in the social context. We look at the social uses or social practices involved in the language. Okay. Now, these ones are actually results from a certain study where they conducted the study on they employed discourse analysis on the doctor patient communications about diabetes management. So these were the first column are actually the three basic approaches to critical discourse analysis, and then the second column contains the questions that these certain approaches would ask, if that will be the approach that you will be choosing later on to study on discourse analysis, then these questions could actually be your basis. And we also have a data collection and analysis, the application in the fourth column. Okay. I'll pass on that so we can discuss more on the slides. These are actually the means and the ways of doing the discourse analysis. So for Sam, if you just wanted to investigate on the rules and principles in the use of the language in both the text or oral interaction, probably you can consider the use of pragmatics in your study later on, or conversation analysis. Okay, but if you want to focus on how the language is being used in certain contexts and certain culture, maybe you can consider your design to be under ethnography of communication, which is popularized by Delheims, and we also have interactional social linguistics. But for others who want to do a discourse analysis and you just want to focus on the functions and the structures of the language, then you can consider Halliday's systemic functional linguistics. You can also consider Birmingham School discourse analysis as your method, and we can also consider text linguistics as your method. But for those people who want to conduct a discourse analysis and you just want to focus on how the language is being used to to bridge power and politics or ideologies in the society, you can actually employ critical discourse analysis as one of your methods. You can also make use of other pragmatic and social linguistic approaches dwelling on the power of language. So G back in 1999 provided us six areas of reality. These are actually realities in terms of the use of language in written and oral or verbal communication. So the first reality according to G is the meaning and value of aspects of the material world, okay? And the second reality are the activities, okay? So he actually provided you some instances to show these realities. Like for example, for the activities, we talk and act in one way and we are engaged informally opening a committee meeting. So that is the first event. And then later on, we talk and act in another way because we are engaged in a chit chat. Okay. So there are like we adjust ourselves dependent on situations in a certain setting. Okay. And the language also adjusts itself. Okay. Also, I mean, we also adjust our language as we adjust on settings or on contexts. Okay. And then number three reality, according to G, is the identities and relationships. Okay. Another reality that he actually mentioned is actually the politics. Now, where can we see language in politics? Of course, language becomes a good tool for political agendum, for political advocacies, for political aspects and other factors. And so we look at this. This is probably more on the critical discourse analysis approach. And we also use language to establish communications and thus connections to other people. We also have the sixth reality, according to G back in 1999, which is semiotics. When we're using the language, we're not just talking about the words, but in discourse analysis, if this is in the sixth reality of G, we also investigate on the non-linguistic variables in our communication, like the intonation, like the tone, the manner of speaking of the person whom we are talking to or interacting with, okay, could actually be counted as part of our investigation. And we also can look at symbols that exist in the community, okay, where the communication takes place, okay. And I would want to introduce to you, because I've been talking for the time is too fast. I was talking for 45 minutes already. And I hope you are learning as we are going through the lecture, okay? So I would want to introduce to you the speaking model of Himes back in 1962. Well, this is much on conversation analysis. When you want to do a discourse analysis study and you want to follow the conversational analysis approach, you want to study on a certain human interaction. Say, for example, for educators, you have teacher and student interaction, day to day or daily student and teacher interaction. So if you want to study that certain interaction, then probably I can suggest that you can read about Himes speaking model, because this is very effective in conversational analysis, okay, or um, on the ethnography of communication that he popularized, okay. So the S stands for, actually the speaking model is a mnemonics, or it's an acronym. The S stands for the scene and the setting. If you will try to do a discourse analysis and you want to investigate on an oral recitation, I mean, oral interaction, the first one is you try to consider the scene and the setting. So when what the time and the place where the communication happened, okay. So what time is it? Where did the communication happen? Is it inside the classroom? Is it inside an office? Is it along the highway? Okay, and what time is it? Okay, because these can be factors, okay, that is worthy to be considered in our analysis. But for the scene, which Himes included in S, is actually pertaining to psychological and cultural settings. So remember that when we interact, especially if we do a discourse analysis and we wanted to investigate on how people interact with each other, we have to consider their differences. And one of their differences is their cultural backgrounds. Okay, how do they adjust with each other? Because particularly how we deal with other people is actually something that the culture has influenced us, okay, or our cultural influences also takes place in our interaction with other people. So that is what scene Himes is pertaining to. And then another one, if we're studying still on conversational analysis or in oral interactions, we have to be very keen in understanding who our participants are. Now, according to the speaking model, the participants are the interlocutors of the communication. And they are the speakers or the listeners. They could be either, if that's digital communication, that could be either the sender or the receiver. The participants could also be the addresser or the addressee. Okay. And we have to do a background research about these participants involved in the communication that we're trying to investigate. Okay. And letter E, which stands for ends, is actually defined by Himes as the results and goals aimed to achieve by the participants in a communication event. So if you want to study the communication that exists in the classroom between the teacher and the students, you have to also take time to understand what are the ends of their communication. Why are they communicating? Is it for the purposes of verification of lessons? Is it for the purpose of um, coming up with with the decision of the class or anything? That could actually be counted as ends. But anything that relates to the goals that we have to achieve after the communication is technically ends in Himes speaking model. We also have letter A that stands for act sequence. So what are the order of events? Okay, what order of events happened? Okay, if you try to look at closely a certain man-to-man communication or oral interaction, you will see that there will be changes in communication. There will be stages that they follow. Like for example, in normal daily conversation with friends, we start with greetings. So we greet each other. That's the first act, okay? And then later on, we thought of extending the communication. And so we cover another topic. After the greetings comes another topic that is the next act. And then our topic becomes more expansive in scope. So we bring the communication to another level or we approach it to another act. So that's the order of the events that took place in our communication that should also be investigated when you do a conversation analysis. And the key, what if we give meaning to the tone, the manner of how we interact with each other? If you're trying to closely investigate a conversation between two interlocutors, you can understand, you have to pay attention to when do they change their tone? Why do they speak with such a tone? What's the manner of their speaking? What's the manner of how they interact with each other? Okay, in the communication space. So that could also be a concern. The letter I is to understand different tools and channels that we're using to communicate with other people, whether that be a physical communication or a virtual communication, okay? Because instruments are also important variables in communication, okay? In fact, in the digital world, if we're using our phones or our laptops and hard softwares to communicate with people across the globe, there will be instances that we lag and we encounter technical problems that would be affecting the quality of our communication with other people. So instruments could also play a role on the spontaneity or the no spontaneity of our communication, as well as look at the forms and styles of the speech being given. And then letter N, according to Haim's speaking model, you have to consider in conversation analysis what is socially accepted at the event. So again, go back to the context. What if this context would not have this culture, so we behave this way according to the culture where we are communicating to. So these are the norms. What is socially acceptable in such a situation? Who are the people I'm conversing with? What is acceptable to them and what should be done? Okay, what should I execute as something socially acceptable to the communication? And the genre is the genre type of speech that is being given. So for the genre type, am I studying an actual oral interaction or am I studying um, an interview script? Because interview could be a genre. Am I studying a narrative or a fiction or a non-fictitious fictitious material? That is another genre. So it's a type of speech that is being given or being studied. So I have few more minutes before it turns to 5, exactly 1 hour of my lecture. So why do what was still is needed for rich DA-based studies or discourse analysis studies? First one, researchers would actually notice that a lot of discourse analysis studies are struggling with the richness and volume of explanations, okay, or rich data okay, to come up with their conclusions. So the next time around that we do a discourse analysis study, we need to provide or to create a clear documentation of our sources of information, and that also will give us richer data later on. And we try to give delimitation of data sources, including decisions, descriptions of decisions made with regard to selection of groups. So when you do a certain discourse analysis later on, why are you choosing this group of individuals? Okay. And why do you settle with their oral interaction instead of the written materials that they can write about or they have written? Okay. So you have to also justify that when you do a discourse analysis research. Or am I going to interview them one to one? Would I investigate how they speak to each other as classmates, or would I investigate on how they communicate with each other as how this one person in class communicates with the entire class, or something group based, okay, or whatnot, okay? So this actually is our concern in the DA based studies. And again, it's also important, according to researchers, that we provide a description of the context of our study. Okay, so you have to tell them the setting, the time when you documented the communication, or if you're studying a text, you're doing a textual analysis, which is an approach, which is actually an approach of um, may the approach for discourse analysis. Then that is already, you have to provide a description of the context of the study. So these are my references for that. And I'm opening the floor for possible questions and queries regarding discourse analysis. Hopefully that my lecture this afternoon, my 1 hour lecture, was able to give you basic ideas and enlightening ideas about discourse analysis. Madam, a moderator. Hello, ma'am.
Thank, thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation. Hello, sir. Hello.
Hi, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation. It has been very informative for us. Now it's time for our quiz session. After completed our quiz session, we'll come back again in our question answer session. Okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dear participant, it's time for our quiz session. To join this session, you have to go www.slido.com. Then you have to enter the code. And the code is IGP2. And the code is IGP2. After short video, we will start our quiz session. So let's enjoy our quiz session. Dear participant, it's time for our quiz session. To join this session, you have to go www.slido.com. Then you have to enter the code. And the code is IGP2. We'll pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will directly print on certificates. And top 10 will be awarded with quiz completion certificates. In our quiz session, already 27 people join. We are still waiting for your joining, so please everyone join in our quiz session. Already 30 people join our quiz session. To join this session, you have to go www.slido.com. Then you have to enter the code, and the code is IGP2. The code is IGP2. Now start our quiz competition. Our first question. Discourse analysis takes a concern with embedding language in a wider social culture context from option 1 sociology, second option anthropology. And the correct answer is option 2 anthropology, and 16% people are right. Now see our dashboard. Uh, the top one is Rihanna Hamek. Then in second position we have Flami Ragal Salguzo. In third position we have Joel Barnasser. In fourth position we have Rosalinda, and in fifth position we have Kefar Rivera. Now we go for our second now question, and the question is: in the rhetorical analysis question, you are required to option 1 rhetorically analyze the basis provided. Second option, use your background knowledge to write an original argument. What is the correct answer? And the correct answer is option 1 rhetorically analyze the basis provided, and 42% people are right. And now our top one is Joel Barnasser. Then we have Rosalinda, then we have Charlene, then we have Janila. Then in fifth position we have Tashi Ratan. Now we go for our third now question. And the question is: discourse can be analyzed. What do we call this analysis? Option 1 discourse analysis. Second option content analysis. And the correct answer is option 1 discourse analysis, and 91% people are right. Uh, Still top our top one is Joel Abernaser. Now we go for our fourth long question. And the question is discourse analysis takes a concern with the structure of language and the distribution of linguistic forms from option 1 linguistics, second option sociology. And the correct answer is option 1 linguistic, and 86% people are right. Now we see our dashboard. In our dashboard, the top one is again Stuart Barnes. Now we go for our fifth one question, and the question is discourse analysts concerned with power and social inequality in language comes from linguistics. Second option critical studies. And the correct answer is option 2 critical studies, and 50% people are right. Still, our top in is one is Joel Barneser, then we have Charlene, then we have in third position Sapal, in fourth position we have Brianna, in fifth position we have Leah Fakanoli. Now we go for our sixth down question, and the question is the discourse analysis change among social situation, is it true or false? The discourse analysis change among social situation, is it true or false? We have only 2 seconds. And the correct answer is true, and 97% people are right. Still, our top one is Joel Barnasser. Then we go for our seventh now question, and the question is critical discourse analysis focus on language first. Is it true or false? And the correct answer is false, and 47% people are right. Now, you see our dashboard. Still, our top one is Joel and Barnaso. Then we go for our eighth now question, and the question is discourse analysis does concern on linguistic aspects is just a focus on sociology. Is it true or false? And the correct answer is false, and 80% people are right. Now we go for our ninth now question, and the question is fan studies use option 1 observation, second option qualitative sociological approaches. And the correct answer is option 2 qualitative sociological approaches, and 74% people are right. We see our leaderboard. Now our top one is Jardin Salio Joyam Then in second position we have Joel Barnasser. Third position we have Barnasser. In fourth position, we have lesson. In fifth position, we have Justin. Now we go for our last and final question. Is a field is linguistics focused on the system of the forms and formation of words in a language? Is it syntax or second option morphology? What is the correct answer for this question? And the correct answer is option 2 morphology, and 47% people are right. Congratulations, Charlene Salioji Yamguchi. He is our top one. Then in second position we have Joel and Barnasser. Then in third position we have Lysan Munandi. In fourth position we have Janediel. In fifth position we have Barnasser. Then then in sixth position we have Rosalinda. Then in seventh position we have Jamilian V. Rivera. In eighth position we have Mary Jan. In ninth position we have Flamir Raghavan Salviojo, and in 10th position we have Justin V. Savilo. Congratulations, our top 10 quiz competition winners. We have all of your name which you entered during joining. We will pick and name your name and prepare certificate and will post them on our Facebook official page. And our Facebook official page is Institution of Global Professional. Dear participant, after short video, we'll start our question answer session. If you have any question, you can ask in our comment box. And participants are requested to ask their question in comment box. Please address speaker name. After question answer, we will share our certification process. Welcome back, everyone. Hello, sir.
Hi, ma'am. I apologize. We suddenly had an electricity outage in our area, but our electricity is back. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay, sir. No problem. Uh, Dear participant, we'll go ahead and take some time for our question now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your question into our comment box. Uh, Sir, our first question from Flomir Salviejo. Good afternoon, Sir Kevin Jack. To receive, what is the main focus of discourse analysis? What is the aim of Jaime's speaking model?
Hi, thank you very much for that question, Sir Flomy. Okay. Let me address the first question. To recap, what is the main focus of discourse analysis? Well, that will be dependent on what approach you will be using for discourse analysis. Our multiple foci or focuses for discourse analysis could be, if that's a textual analysis, then we understand how the language is structured in a certain textual material. But if you want to investigate on how the language is being used for actual oral interaction, then that could also be another purpose for discourse analysis. But if you want to also expand your purpose, you could also look at how language is being used in the society to actually manifest ideologies, power, and relations, and that would actually focus on critical discourse analysis. So that will really be dependent on what your purpose will be and what approach of discourse analysis would you want to really embark on in your study. Let me address the second question. What is the aim of Himes speaking model? The Himes speaking model was actually more of ethnography of communication. You can actually make use of this as your guiding light when you're conducting conversation analysis, because the speaking model that stands for setting and then participants, ends, act sequence, key, instruments, norms, and genre will actually be your guide what possible variables in an interaction or in a conversation would you want to investigate on or could you investigate on. So by simply following the speaking model, which are the SPEAKING variables, would already make your data later on in conversation analysis richer and more holistic. So it will really be your guiding light, especially if you're talking about conversation analysis or ethnography of communication. I hope I was able to address the questions of Sir Salviejo. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Uh, then our second question from Asia. What is anthropology?
Oh, anthropology is actually a field of science that talks about. Wait a minute. Okay, anthropology is actually a branch of science, everyone, that talks about the human behavior, or you will also talk about humanity, and it will cover a lot. Okay, when you talk about anthropology, it's actually a very vast subject, because anthropologists will also deal with language, they deal with culture, okay, they deal with communities. Sometimes they also like have these fossils as a basis of or materials of their investigation. So anthropology, I must say, is a very large discipline. Yeah, I hope I was able to do that.
Okay, thank you. Sir, a third question from Facebook user. Good evening, sir. Why a quality method is best for discourse analysis and what are the benefits?
Pardon me, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Please repeat the question, please.
Good evening, sir. Why a qualitative method is best for discourse analysis and what are the benefits?
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, I have to emphasize that discourse analysis is actually qualitative in an approach. It's an interpretive qualitative design. Okay. Now, the question was why a qualitative method? Because you will try to explain. Okay. You will try to explain how language is being used in the text or in conversation. So it's the communication or the interaction that happens. You look at it as a phenomenon, okay, and then you will try to explain. So if that's going to be a textual analysis, say for example I'm reading an interview script, I have to understand what codes, what words are they using in the script, okay, between these in this interaction. Or if it's gonna be a conversation, I have to explain, I have to qualify or describe how the communication went on. So what were the progresses or the pointers of the communication? What were the contexts that these interlocutors considered in the communication? Or what are the emerging patterns of their communication? So again, it's qualitative by nature. Discourse analysis is qualitative by nature because you have to describe how language works in communication and how communication is being established, whether that be in the oral or in the written form of communication. The benefits of it, it will actually tell us, well, that's a good question. What will be the benefit of this? You will know how to, you will educate us about how to be better communicators, okay? Because you will try to look at different communication situations and investigate on it. Your results later will actually educate us to become better communicators. What would be good turn taking strategies could we adopt in certain communications we are in? What could be our adjustments or communication strategies, or even manners as to how to carry out conversations or communications with other people, regardless if we belong to similar cultures or different cultures? So your findings would really be very beneficial for us to be enlightened as to how we can navigate through communications.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, it's look like we covered all of our question. Is there anything else you wanted to tell our participant?
Thank you very much. I hope to have more discussions with you about this course analysis. I was only given an hour to actually finish the lecture, and it's a privilege to have been invited for the third time in Institute of Global Professionals. I will still serve as your as one of your resource speakers comes 2023. So please stand by for more updates regarding the lectures that I'll be giving. But just in any case that you still have questions, please feel free to contact me via my professional email. That's kevinjakeangyab at e.ubagyo.edu. You can also acquire or obtain my professional contact details from our moderator if you have questions regarding the lecture I've given. Thank you very much, IGP, and thank you very much to our participants.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of IGP, profound thanks for taking out the time for your busy schedule to present the slide about discourse analysis in language studies. I know that everyone sitting there was fascinated by your presentation, and those slides give everyone a great idea about the discourse analysis in language slide. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I'll see you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. See you again. Dear Percival, today we can't connect. Dear Percival, today some of our technical problem we cannot share our today's webinar code. We will provide the code in a short time. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. We hope everyone can learn from our webinar. See you in our next session. Till that, stay happy and blessed. Thank you so much, everyone.